Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Winnie. Uh, Such a pleasure to welcome you guys to all these amazing IWD Day for Firebase. Uh, we have two speakers today, and we're going to have Mandela Winnie first, and then later on we'll have another session from Janet. Feel free to post your questions on the chat. And before we start, I'll allow Mandela Winnie to introduce herself, and then we can go ahead. Welcome to the stage. Winnie, if you can hear me, you can unmute and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello. Hi. Building plans. What's your name again?
Hey, yes, you're now audible.
Oh, okay. I was asking what's your name? What is your name? Hello.
Hey, sorry, come up again.
Okay, I'm asking what is your name?
Oh, sorry about that. So my name is Mark. I go by the code influencer on my socials.
Okay. Hi, Janet. Can you hear me?
Hi, Winnie. I can hear you.
Okay. So as per the function I was given, you're the one who should be starting and not me. You can take over and shine today.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll be starting. And should you wait for more people to join? Should you wait for some few minutes, or we start immediately? What do you think?
Yeah, so we're recording the session and it's going to be available afterwards. So I think we can just go ahead, but maybe we can just do the intros. Even though you will have your session later, we can just do intro for both of you at the beginning. So Janet, maybe you can start, and then Winnie will go ahead next. So who you are, what do you do, and what you'll be talking about today.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Janet Aballo. I'm a full stack software engineer. I do mostly web development. I build software, and I my primary career was in hotel management. I just transitioned to tech, and it was just out of my curiosity, and I just wanted to know how things work out. How do this software come up? I was so curious to know what happens. So I decided to switch and go into software development. I went to Refactory Academy in Uganda. I'm a Ugandan by birth and a Kenyan by registration. So I've been studying in Uganda. So I went to Refactory Academy. It's a tech skilling academy. And I graduated last year. That's when I graduated from Refactory. Yeah, I love software. I love everything about software because it is a big challenge, and I love challenges. It keeps my mind open, thinking, solving problems. Having a problem and you have to solve it yourself. It keeps my mind very active, and every day, due to that trend that are always changing, I keep on learning new things. And yeah, I'm so much in love with software. yeah, that's all about me that I can say right now. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you for the intro, and I'll be asking you guys some icebreaker questions, and the first one will go to you, Janet. And sorry for putting you on the spot, but what year was the first official International Women's Day celebrated? So I'll give you some options. So is it A 1908, B 1911, C 1920, D 1945?
B.
Yeah, correct one. You didn't chat GPT, right?
I didn't like I did. You would hear me typing. I didn't.
Okay. I would assume Winnie Mandela is setting up her chat GPT in readiness for her trivia question. But anyway, Winnie, go ahead and do your intro, and then I'll ask you the question afterwards. Okay, that's fine. So I think maybe Janet, you can go ahead, and then Winnie will do her intro as she does her session later on. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much. Hey, everyone just dropped off.
Janet, are you setting up?
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Just one sec. Okay. Just give me one.
Okay, sure.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you, and I can see your screen as well.
Okay. What? Tell me what you can see on my screen.
So it's a Google Docs page.
Just a page.
Slide. Yeah, it's a slide.
Is it now in that in a
Yeah, now it's
presentation mode?
yes, it is.
This is not where I'm supposed to share.
Are you okay, Janet? Okay, so seems she's dropped off. So Winnie, are you back? Maybe you can do the intro as we wait for Janet to come back in.
Hello, yes, I'm back. Can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Winnie Mandela. I prefer to being called Mandela. I'm a software engineer by profession, but mainly around software, I mainly focus towards front-end engineering and QA and not so much DevOps, just a bit of it, but some basic ones. On top of that, I am also a product designer whereby I sit and engage with teams and try to help them build an actual product that can be used, let me say, in the market. Yeah, or let's say like a product that can get to the first round of sales. Yeah, apart from that, I am a community manager at Angular Kenya, and I am hoping to see you guys on the upcoming event that will be coming. Yeah. Is there anything else that I'm supposed to like share about myself?
No, Winnie, I think that's just about it. Although I do have an icebreaker question for you, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
Hope it's not a history question. I did geography. Okay.
Uh, okay, it's not. So, what's the official color for International Women's Day? I'll give you some
What?
options. I'll give you some options. So there's blue, yellow, purple, green.
Uh, I think I'll go with purple.
Yes, it's purple.
Okay. I was a bit confused. I thought it's pink. Mm.
It's purple. Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know if Jane is going to join back. Janet is going to join back. Uh, are you ready, Winnie, or Mandela? Sorry, or just wait for her.
I think we can give her like around 5 minutes. If she doesn't come back, then I will take over.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Janet.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry, my internet had gone off. I'm really sorry.
No worries. So are you set now to continue?
Yeah, yes. Let me share my screen.
Sure.
Can you see my screen? Hello. Just
Hey, yes,
confirm to me.
yes. It's up.
Okay. Okay. My name is Janet once again. I'm a Ugandan and also a Kenyan. And I'm so glad to be here today, and I'll be sharing on building scalable web apps with Firebase. So for those who may not understand what Firebase is, because some people could be here and they have not used it, but they have come to, to get knowledge about it and to pick interest in it. So I'll briefly first explain what Firebase is. And so basically, Firebase is a bus, which is a backend as a service. It helps developers to build web and mobile apps without having to manage the infrastructure. So developers don't have to worry about managing the infrastructure with Firebase. So that is briefly what it is. And with this session, you will get to know more about, understand it deeper, and how to you can, use it Firebase to build your web and mobile apps. So what you should expect in this session, we're going to talk about Firebase overview and authentication and security, Firestore database, and then scaling strategies. So let's dive into Firebase overview. So here we shall understand what Firebase is, as you can see in the second slide. It is just a cloud-based platform. It provides back-end services, uh, databases, authentication, hosting. So now that means that brings you back to the first thing that I explained. It enables, it helps developers to build web and mobile apps without managing the infrastructures, because it Firebase itself provides these services. It mostly works. It works so it like the most people that really use Firebase are always startups, small teams, and sometimes also enterprise level apps. So it can still work out for you if you have your startup, you are a small team, and you want a real framework that is going to help you build, and you don't have to worry about the infrastructure, and you build faster your software. Firebase should be your place to go. And why Firebase? Why would you out there choose, like, okay, because we have very many frameworks, everyone, like there is a lot in the ocean. So you just have to choose which kind of fish do you want to eat, like which kind of framework do you want to use, because we have a lot and everything has its own advantages and disadvantages, and everyone have their own preferences. So why would someone out there choose, like, okay, why would me, Janet, choose, I want to use Firebase? So the first thing, it eliminates, Firebase eliminates the need for you to build the back-end services from scratch, because it basically provides these services. So you don't have to go and build your whole back-end from zero, from scratch. So you see how that it helps us to save some time because the time you would use to build something from scratch and the time I would use when I'm building with Firebase and it provides these services, I would use lesser time than you do. So it really helps a lot. And it also, Firebase also, it scales with user growth. So with Firebase, for example, if we have a software we built with Firebase and we have very many people connected on our specific software and we're making some updates, like anything, any small changes that is made, it is automatically reflects to all the millions of people that are connected to that particular software. So I think we're getting more reasons as to why Firebase should be the place to go. And so we're going to look out for some of the key benefits of choosing Firebase and using Firebase to build your software. So we have you pay as you go pricing, ensures cost effectiveness, real-time database, and hosting capabilities are also key benefits. What do you understand by pay as you go? It's basically a model. The start is free. You pay only when usage increases. And for the real-time database, it provides live updates without a page needing the page to first refresh before the live updates, reflect. So it has a real-time database that provides those live updates instantly, where you don't have to wait for some minutes. Again, you refresh the page for the updates to reflect. No, it doesn't do that. So it is just so sweet to use Firebase while you're building your software. And also for the hosting capabilities, you can deploy in seconds. Like you can deploy in seconds with a very fast content. You can deploy your content in seconds, like worldwide, when you're using Firebase, basically. So it is so efficient, like it makes work easy. It is not very, very complicated like the other frameworks, because there's a framework I know that I've been interacting with, and it really gave me headache in a way that I felt like, okay, I made a bad choice. But with Firebase, I assure you, you will not regret, as long as you understand like how it flows. You understand first of all, you know what you want to achieve, and you understand Firebase well, how it flows. You're not going to regret why you chose Firebase. Unfortunately, I don't have a demo. I would have shown you. And so let's dive into the Firebase architecture for scalability. And the first one is so Firebase is basically made of 4 key services. These services help the apps to scale efficiently. And one of them is authentication. We have hosting, Firestore, and then cloud functions. And for the authentication, this handles secure login. The Firestore is basically a cloud-based NoSQL database for Firebase, and we have cloud functions. For those, I think Winnie is going to take you more on that later on. And so the cloud functions, this runs all the back-end logic without having to manage the servers. And then for the hosting here, Firebase uses a global CDN to serve files quickly. And yeah, so So how these basically work together. So here, when a user logs in, Firebase authentication, it verifies the credentials of the users. And then after that, the credentials being verified by the Firebase authentication, Firebase the Firebase stores user data. So the Firebase store stores user data, and the cloud functions processes the requests. And so here the front end retrieves data via the Firestore, and it displays it later on. So for example, there are some, like for example, an example of a real world project that I can say that that uses this Firebase, mostly the chat apps. Most apps used for chatting. Those apps are really scalable, and they actually use Firebase to come up with these applications. So you can just look at that flow, and you can just relate to how this happens, how the 4 key services that helps these apps to scale efficiently, which are the authentication, Firestore, cloud functions, and the hosting. So I don't know. I know maybe some people out there have been facing a lot of challenges with scalability issues in projects. So if you've been facing a lot of challenges with the scalability issues, I think now you can tell where to run to. If you've really been having hard time, then why not give Firebase a try in your next project? You see how things are going to work out in a very easy in a very smooth flow for you. So with that said, let's dive into our fourth slide, which is about authentication and security. So this is basically so here we have Firebase authentication, security use, reCAPTCHA enterprise. So here the Firebase authentication, basically it supports multiple authentication methods. For example, email or password, Google, Facebook, Twitter, phone number, based on one-time OTP, one-time password login. So it really supports its authentication supports multiple methods, which is a good one. So in case this fails, you can opt in for another method, and you authenticated and you're in. And the security rules. So Firebase lets you define who can access data. So here, for example, only the logged in user can edit their profile. So if you're not logged in, you cannot. So when I'm logged in as Janet Aballo, it is only me who can go and edit my profile at any single point that I really want, which is a good one. So, and the reCAPTCHA enterprise, here it prevents bots from creating fake accounts. So your device is really secure and safe at a percentage of 90% with Firebase. If you integrate the reCAPTCHA enterprise into your project, and it also reduces fraud by 90%. So here you're 100% sure your device is secure and safe. Because right now there is a lot of fraud happening. Bots can create a fake account and can log into the system, and you never know what happens. So with Firebase, At least you minimize all those risks that you would have when you chose maybe some other options that are not Firebase. So with that said, I don't know how you people currently handle your user authentication in your apps and maybe all your projects that you're working on. But for a very secure one, I think you should now be thinking how you're going to be working out with these authentications while using your Firebase. So in whatever way you've been handling and your user authentication, if in case it has been kind of challenging, so you have another easier way to do that with Firebase, and very, very secure at 90%. So with that said, I'll go to my fifth slide, and then here we have the Firestore. We're going to speak about the Firestore, a very efficient and scalable data. Here I'm going to speak about Firestore versus the traditional databases. And so here with Firestore, we have we use relational SQL databases, and they have structured tables, rows, and columns. And also we have Firestore NoSQL, which uses documents and collections. It makes it very flexible and scalable. And also here we have real-time updates. So here data changes instantly in the UI without refreshing. You don't have to refresh. I think I already mentioned this in my second slide. You don't have to refresh. It is like it instantly changes. All the changes that are made instantly reflect in the UI to all the connected users. And so if you have like 1,000 to 5,000 users connected onto your system, any changes made, any slight changes made in the UI, it instantly reflects. It doesn't take time and you don't have to refresh. It also works online. It also works offline. So it works on offline. So basically what it does, it syncs when the user goes online. Yeah, so we have multiple reasons as to why Firebase should be the place to go. And also the other is automatic scaling. So Firestore automatically, it distributes data across multiple servers. So I don't know why you would have any other excuse of not to choose Firebase, but at least with this, you can pick interest and go and learn more about it. And you start using it, you will come back here and testify. And so with that said, let me go to my sixth slide, which is that I'm going to be talking about the Firestore data modeling for scalability. So here we have data structure, denormalized data, and then indexing. So here, optimizing Firestore structure for scalability. And so here, how you can optimize this, you have to always avoid nested data, because it slows down the queries. And it is advisable to always use sub-collections. So here, you have to organize related data efficiently. You organize data. If data is related, organize it. Organize all your data that is related efficiently. And denormalization. So you can duplicate some data to improve speed. So you can just keep on duplicating some data that is kind of related and the same for you to be able to improve the speed. So basically with that says, So we have some here. Some optimizing Firebase for scale. Reduce client-side processing. You identify Firebase queries to reduce database rates, CDN, and here in the caching, you can so you can store frequently access data in your local storage or in your indexed database. And so for the performance, since Firebase gives real-time performance insights, so you have to, it's like you slow the queries and everything. So basically, that is it for optimizing Firebase for scalability. And so with my conclusions, some of the key takeaways for Firebase, we have here, Firebase simplifies backend development and it automatically scales. And Firebase basically provides you with real-time data and offline support. So you still have 1,000 reasons that's why Firebase. And then here, authentication and security rules protect user data. The Firebase authentication, it's what I'm speaking about. It protects user data. And so I just want to encourage everyone right here to go back and you start up your project. If small project, you can start with a very, very small project, and you see how things work out with Firebase. With this small app, talked about Firebase, you can start from there. Now Firebase is going to help me do this, and this is the good part about Firebase. So I would encourage someone to go out there and start up a small project, your personal project of Firebase, one project. You can start with something small, get something bigger, and then you start working on real world projects, like real life projects. And I promise you will not regret with Firebase. And so basically that is the end for me. So I want to say, anyone having any questions and you want ask a question, that's something you didn't understand very well, the floor is open for questions.
Okay, so thank you so much, Janet, for that insightful session. So maybe you can also tell the audience where they can find you in case they have questions, maybe your socials, Twitter, LinkedIn.
Okay. So in case you have more questions about Firebase, you want us to collaborate on your Firebase project, you need guidance on your Firebase project, you can find my LinkedIn is Janet Aballo. My Twitter is Janet Aballo. My Instagram, Janet Aballo. My Facebook, Janet Aballo. So you can reach me out, and I can also share my contact, which in case, you want something urgent, something is really urgent, I'm going to share my contact in the chat and my email address. You can reach out to me at any time, and I'll create time for us to collaborate, discuss more, and we get Firebase at the top.
Okay, so basically Janet Aballo everywhere.
Janet Aballo everywhere.
Okay.
I've shared my email address.
All right. So thank you so much, Janet. So Winnie Mandela is going to go next. Mandela, are you ready?
Hello, yes, I'm ready. Yes, Mark. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Hmm. Hi, everyone. Hi again, round two. Okay. 3, 2, 4. What's about? Continue. Okay. So I will share my screen. Screen. Okay. Do let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's up. It's up.
Okay. So yes, hi everyone. Hi again, round two. Sorry for the infinite. Since Janet has presented with very good, amazing design and slides, I will be going the opposite way, the senior engineer way, whereby I'll be using Markdown technically, and this is a simple repository whereby I have just pushed some code a few minutes ago so that we can talk about Serverless API with Firebase functions. So as I shared earlier, my name is Mandela Winnie, and I'll be taking you through today. I think Janet has shared a lot about what Firebase entails, its whole architecture and everything, what features are available, what to use in what scenarios, and what to keep in mind. So we'll be streaming it down to a bit much deeper concept, whereby we won't be looking at Firebase authentication, we won't be looking about security that she mentioned. We will basically be looking at the Firebase functions, which, as you can see, it is basically just writing functions, yeah, for life. And I know we love Firebase. No, we love writing functions in code. So I'll be speaking on it from the point of a web developer, but I think the concepts will still apply similar if you're doing app development as well. So in this case, a brief overview. I'm not sure if this was shared, but initially when Firebase was growing, the first version, Firebase, was not supposed to be Firebase. It was being called Evolve, and technically, it was built so that it can be used by it. It was built so that it can be used to implement chat, like the real-time chat information, the way like WhatsApp is. But now the people who built it found that the developers are not actually using it to actually implement their chat features. They're using it more of like to keep in sync in regards to their databases. So then that's when they decided to I don't know if I should say shift, ama they decided to turn the wheel and they decided to now focus more on a developer point of view, whereby they introduced all the features that our previous speaker has talked about. Then later, after some time, that was when it was acquired by Google. Yeah, that's a brief summary. I don't think you knew that. But anyway, so in our today's talk, we are basically talking about functions. And what's happening is in the previous versions, it was being called cloud functions. But now currently, Firebase has a bit of, let me say, like changed the label, whereby it's now being called Fire Build. So even if you'll be looking for, let's say, like courses or learning materials, most likely they won't call it Firebase Cloud Functions. They will call it Fire Build Functions. Yeah, just have that in mind. So in this case, we are mainly looking at the side of whereby you will be writing a simple snippet of server-side code, but from your editor beside over here, and not from like the actual where you have to create a whole backend structure, pick the language and everything. Think of this as more of, apart from what Firebase is offering you, that is authentication, Firestore, what else? Let's say like real time, dynamic links. There are a lot of things apart from what Firebase is offering. So what it adds on is, let's say, like, let me give you an example. Assume you have a document, correct? No, you have a collection, let's say, that is called events. And in this case, what you want to do is you want that every time a new event is created, what happens is, just a minute. Hi, Mark. Can you see my editor, or it's too tiny? Hello?
Hey, yes, I can see your editor, but
You
maybe
can
you can
see.
just increase it by one
Okay,
for anyone who might be. Yeah, that's better.
that's okay. Okay,
Yes.
so I'll give an example over here simply because I like writing. I like using Markdown. So let's assume that you're creating an event, and in this event that you're creating, you want that every time a new event is created, what happens is, let's say, like, the event, every time a new event is created, a status is updated, in the sense that you know if this event is in draft mode or if this event has been published. So technically, that's a scenario whereby you would create a Firebase function to do that for you outside the box, and obviously there's going to be triggers to do that update status. Yes. Another example would be, let's assume that, let's say, you're creating a user management system. And let's say for the user management system, you want that every time a student is added on the platform, what happens is you are sent an email being told that, hello, a new user has been added on your organization. And if you'd like to approve or deny this functionality, you can do A, B, C, D, and D. So in that case, that's where a Firebase function will come. And I think, as I have said, it is mainly triggered by Firebase features or HTTP request, whereby you can manually take the link to the Firebase function and call it, or alternatively, it can be used by the Firebase features. So in this case, that is faster, as I've explained, in terms of having a collection called events. And then also we have the other aspect of whereby you can also use authentication, whereby if a user logs in, you want the user to do A, B, C, D, and D. Yeah. So technically, I can say in summary, Cloud Functions is more as a FAS, because I think right now in our development industry, everything is just as a service. So in this case, Firebase Cloud Functions will be function as a service. And don't be a bit of afraid. It actually handles a couple of multiple programming languages, the main ones. The ones that I saw were Node.js and Python. So I think they also have others, but I haven't checked on that. But for today's session, we will be using TypeScript, simply because I will be doing it in Angular, and Angular is using TypeScript. But you can also use JavaScript. But good luck with the type errors. Mhm. So now, next thing we'll look at is, let me go back to here. Yeah. So the next thing you're going to look at is the versions of the Firebase function. So there's some bad news and good news. The bad news is this is a paid feature. The good news is you won't be charged to try it. You if you create an account and connect your billing account, you have like around $300. Yeah, that's a lot of money. $300 credit that you can use to play around and get to understand what the Firebase function is. So we have two versions. We have the first version and the second version. So it's not like you are installing them differently, but when it comes to how you will be importing them, which is over here, when it comes to how you will be importing them over here, the way you can see this one, the only difference will be you either are importing on version 1 or version 2. So there's nothing huge. It's just that both of them have their own packs. So we'll start with version 1, whereby we have the container registry that's common. We have the request time mode for up to 9 minutes. So if you do compare like both of them, there is no major difference apart from concurrency. So concurrency is the aspect of how many requests can you handle per instance. So in this case, if you are using version 1, it means you can only handle one concurrent request. Assume we have created a function that should, let's see, back to MD file here. Let's say we have created a function that, let's say, should create an event. Another function should update the user tickets. No, create an event, let's say update tickets. correct? And let's say update your wallet. Let's update your wallet, correct? So if you're in version 1 and you have created like a function that should handle all of this, if it's in version 1, each of these will have their own instances, whereby you'll have one instance running, creating an event, another instance will run updating the ticket, and then another instance again will run update your wallet. But if you're using version 2, as you have said here, it allows up to 1,000 concurrent requests. What happens is you are able to come and say that I would like for my cloud function to allow 1,000 requests. So only one instance will be built, and then all these functions will be directed towards that one instance. That's the whole main function. But I think since we are developers, if you will be using concurrency, ensure that the code that you are using can handle concurrency. And in this case, since we are using TypeScript, that means we have not TypeScript, we're using Node.js as the runtime environment mainly. We have the async functions, which will help you do the concurrency. At this rate, I feel like my Kizungu will go away. So I think that's the only, I told you guys, that is the only theory that I think I can say, and then you can just get straight into the demo. So I have already created a project over here, which is more of like, don't worry about the errors. You see the errors, you have got. So sorry, just a minute. Yeah, clear. So I just want to make sure I don't have anything that is running over here. So give me a few minutes. Okay, so I will write some commands over here on what you're going to do next, but I don't think I won't like run them actual because I have already done this before the call because we have like short time. So the first thing you'll have to do is, since it's an Angular project, you will come and curate a new project. And the prerequisite that we are assuming here is that you know, let me just write, sorry, we are a fan of Windows, sorry, senior engineers. The prerequisite that we are assuming that you know here, prerequisites. Okay, it's an indicator pre. Yeah, the pre that we are assuming here is that you know Firebase, like you know how to initialize a simple Firebase application that is using all getting data from Firestore, etc. etc. The other one is you are good in Angular, but it's not recommended. It depends on your framework, on what you know. And then the other one is that you're good in one programming language, technically, which is supported by Firebase. So me, I'll be using TypeScript. So in your case, I think Python would do, or any other language, but I'm not sure. And the other prerequisite that you're assuming is, obviously, if you know our web development framework, you know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, technically. So now that is the assumption. So if you don't know a bit of this, don't worry. If you know only TypeScript alone, this session can also apply to you as well. So for the Angular people, we will come and run Nginx, since we'll be using the Angular CLI in creating the project, and then you give the project name. So in my case, if you do see here, I created the project to be called Fire Kenya Cloud. So I'm using an editor called Casa. You know, people use it, so it's not new. Yeah, and you see, technically, it's just a simple Angular repository that I created, nothing much. And then after you've created that, what usually happens is in Angular, you can consume Firebase manually, or you can decide to use the Firebase, the Angular Fire library. I forgot to open it. Angular Fire. Let me show you. I think it's this one. It's this one. Just a minute. Angular Fire, and then go to their documentation. That's GitHub. Yeah. So most Angular developers use this to consume Firebase, but there's nothing to worry. The concepts are still the same. It's just that it elevates the essence of you going and having to like consume the actual library like from scratch. It has a bit of like, how do I say this? Elevated you from the normal barriers. But my advice would be for you to go the raw way, first of all, and learn how to use it based on what is in the documentation of Firebase, and then you can come now and use the library. So back to our presentation. After you've created the project, you can come and add Angular Fire, and Angular Fire will basically, I don't think I would want to do this because I already did it. So I hope it doesn't tell me it is installed. Okay, it's installed. Sorry guys. So if you run ng-add at Angularfy, it's going to ask you the project name. Are you adding this on an existing project? What project are you doing? You have a web app. So I think if you do it, you'll just follow along the steps that are there. Once you have set up that one, the next thing will be now to start with Firebase function. So that will mean you'll have to install the Firebase tools, which these ones are installed globally. And technically, the Firebase tools provides things such as Firebase CLI, whereby you'll just have to use the terminal over here. And these packages are a bit heavy. So as you can see, as I was telling you, if you run the function, it's going to ask you what features do you want to use. So that is authentication, Google Analytics, App Check, Firestore, real-time database, cloud functions, and cloud messaging. So you'll select what you will use. So in my case, I selected authentication and I selected cloud functions. So I'll just escape this since I won't be using that. Yeah. So now, once you have done, I don't think I'll go through the architecture of an Angular application since the main aim here is for us to learn about functions. Once you have done all of that, you will run this command here called Firebase init functions. So you remember I told you guys we need to install the Firebase tools. So then now this is where it comes in. Since you have already installed the tools globally, among what comes with the tools is there's some things called helpers and utilities, which I think I will share at the end of the session, just like as a know-how, just something for you to know. And then now the other tool that comes in is the Firebase CLI, whereby you can just use, you can just use the terminal to access the Firebase functionalities. And let me see if I can get an example here. So if you see over here, I have written the command Firebase, and the terminal is screaming at me with a lot of content that I don't know where I should start at. But yeah, if you see here, it has given me like a list of options that I can run. So that one depends on what you want to do. Do you want to debug? Do you want to deploy? So during the session, you might see me writing some commands over here. If they're not working on your site, just make sure you have installed Firebase and you have also installed the Firebase tools. Okay. Now, when you come and run, this is the function that you will use to initialize your functions. And technically what happens is Firebase creates a folder that is called functions, you see, and it's more of like a whole project, a whole tiny project on its own. And it's going to ask you what language will you be using. And you see, in my case over here, I'm using TypeScript. So you can see I have tsconfig.json, package.json. It will also ask you if you should like okay, let me start. It will first of all pick the project that you want to do. After picking the project, the next thing it will do is it will ask you the language that you are using, and then after asking you the language that you are using, it is going to ask you like what functions are you writing, because there are different types of functions. If you check my presentation over here, there are some words that I have not yet understood, but I think I removed them about events, and I cannot even remember, but it will ask you something. So you'll only select what you want. So I won't do it since I've already done it over here. I just do it. It's easier. I just don't want to overwrite what has happened. So let's see. If you run this, it is going to run, and then I don't think I'll say yes, but technically this is the procedure that's going to happen. So you see, for me, it's working. If yours is not asking you this way, then hey, your node modules are not moduling with you today. After you've run that function, you'll have a folder called functions. And on a typical day, folder won't be here. What you will have is, let me open this in a new folder. What do you in a new folder? Just a minute. Clear. Okay, I don't think I'll open it in a new folder. Let's just use it this way. If you run the fire init functions, it will create this folder, and technically this is the folder that will have all your functions that you will be running. And we have an src folder that has an index.ts, and this is where you'll create your functions most of the time. And then apart from that, we have a package.json. I think you know what that is, a package.org. So it depends with what package manager you are using. In my case, I'm using npm. If you are using pnpm, it will be pnpm log, something like that. If you're using yarn, it will be a different file, which will be yarn log. Yeah. So then apart from creating the functions folder, what it does as well is it's going to add a file, Firebase rc, and it's going to add a file called firebase.json. So I want us to talk about this file and what it is happening before we proceed. A minute, I collect my charger for the laptop. How long do I have? Hi, Mark. How long do I have?
Hi, Winnie. Um,
Hi.
so we still have some time. We're supposed to go until 9, but the earlier the better. But
Okay.
this go.
Okay. Okay, so just a recap, we have installed Firebase, we have created a project, we've initiated functions, we are now looking at the content files. And as I said, you will get a folder for functions, and then you will get these two files, which are Firebase RC and Firebase.json. But do note that if you had already initiated Firebase in your project, these two files will appear there by default. So now, if you come to this file, what happens is there is this information about pre-deploy, whereby this is what you will mainly use if you are deploying a Firebase application. So I think this is what will run, and then your application will be deployed. So I have shown you this because in most cases, if you decide to use a different package manager, let's say like pnpm, and you run command, this thing will fail. Basically because according to your package.json over here, not this one, it's this one. Yeah, no, not that one. Sorry guys. Yeah. According to our package.json over here, the command that is here is serve. And you see it's npm run build. But now if you're using a different package manager and you forget to come and update over here, enjoy your errors, but I know you will figure it out. Yeah, you're a big person. Yeah. So now, those are the contents. So just a minute. Yeah. So those are the only things that will be created. So I think we've gone through this. So now I will have to open this file in a separate screen, because that will be the easiest way for us to understand it more. So this will be and I breach the load. It does not. Yes. See. Okay, and then I'll have to increase the font. Sorry, I think that's enough. Yeah, so now this is the functions folder. I have taken it out of my Angular project. We'll go back to the Angular project either today or sometime in the future. So when you come to this, you have a tsconfig.json, which basically talks about the config options for TypeScript, since you're using TypeScript. Package.json has just some simple information about script, the runtime engine that you're using, the name of your project, and licenses and etc. So a couple of things that I noticed is by default, the package.json will come with the latest updated version of Node. So in some cases, your node version might be lower than what you have. So like in my case, I have 20, but the project will still run, but you will get an alert like, hi, we need 22, but you're using 20. We'll just use your 20 for now. Yes. And then there's also another problem for the tsconfig.json, the one that is usually generated, it usually uses Node Next. I think it's only compatible with JavaScript. I'm not sure. I tried using it with TypeScript and it was not working well. So I had to like rewrite it, but technically not rewriting the whole of it, just changing the module to be CommonJS and also the module resolution to be Node and Node Next. Yeah. Then apart from that, that is the only thing you need to know. And then we can go back to the package.json. There is something interesting that I would like to talk about, whereby about the main entry point. So how this thing works is if you run the function for, let's say like Firebase, let's say like you want to run this project, what happens is, sorry, I have forgotten the command for new terminal. Just a minute, it loads. May the Lord be with me. Okay, yeah. So what happens is if you come back to your package.json, you have two ways. The first one is you can run the normal way, which is Firebase, and then you say emulators, and then you say that I want to start the emulator, but the only thing that I want to start is I only want to start functions only. And you see it's going to run, and we wait for a minute, and you see it will run, and then it will provide for you a very good table there with a link to your port. So in my case, I had already installed the some I had already installed the emulator, since you see I'm running it. But in your case, if you'll be installing, you will have to wait for some time for the UI to be installed and also some other functionalities. So if I come and I click this, like Alt click, it's going to open for me a simple emulator kind of view. And you see, I'm able to see the logs. I can see the overview, the authentication, Firestore, and everything. So for you, if it's the first time you're installing an emulator, you'll have to install authentication separate, Firestore separate, function separate, but you'll decide on what emulator you want to create. But in our case, we're using only cloud functions, Fire functions only. So if you come over here, you can see that we are getting an error whereby we are being told function/lib/index.js does not exist. So why is this happening? When you run the function Firebase emulator start, what happens is it comes into the package.json and it tries and checks the entry point, which is over here. It is located in the package.json. And as you can see over here, it is saying that it needs a lib folder and an index.js. I know you can be a goodie like me and decide that you're going to rename it and you specify that this will be src. Actually, let me do it, but don't try this at home. And you change it to be src and index.ts. If you run this, it will run, but again, it will tell you that the function is not functioning well, you see, because you'll get this error, cannot use import statement outside a module. This is because for the functions, it mainly works with JavaScript and not TypeScript. So the link that was kept here initially was more of like a compiled code. So what happens is for you to not to get this error or for this folder to be generated, you will come and terminate this, and you will use your package.json well. According to your package.json, what you need to do is for you to run the functions. You need to do what? You need to run either serve or you run shell. So in my case, I will be running with serve. So I'll do npm. Again, this is dependent on your package manager, npm run serve. And then when you run that, it is going to run. It is going to do the build first of all. And you see npm run build is here, which means it's going to run tsc, compile it. Then after compiling it, it will come and start the emulator. So I don't know if it's working, but I'm waiting. Oh, hey, thank God. I was like, yo. Okay, there's an error. What is the error? Oh, I haven't saved this. No wonder. Sorry. Just a minute. Oh, yeah. I think it has saved. Let me see. I'm not sure. Sorry, guys. Live coding is not good, but it is good. It keeps you on toes. NPM run. Serve. No, NPM. Sorry. I missed NPM. And yeah. Okay. Run. Wish me luck. We're counting. Yeah, I'm also waiting like you imagine. We should get powerful machines. Oh God. Guy. Oh, thank God. Hey! Tell me you're working. I don't have any error. Okay. Yeah, it's working. So if we go back to our UI over here and we click logs and you refresh, you see we are being told all emulators are ready. It is safe now to connect your app, and your emulator UI is over here. You see? Yeah. Okay. Hi. Let's go. So that's the operational side of things. Let's go now to our file. So in the SRC folder, we have the index.ts, and technically this is where you'll be writing your functions. I think I mentioned this. And what happens is, if by default it generates for you the file with some simple placeholder text, but now I'll just explain what this is happening. So what happens is, for you to declare a function, it's just a simple JavaScript function whereby you provide a name and a value. And in this case, the name is mainly for you to use it outside your code. So in this case, if you remember, this folder is within an Angular project, so you can use it in that Angular project. So you just come, say export const and the name. So in this case, we are saying export const hello Firebase, and then I'll explain what this is happening. So now with the functions, it's either you are requesting or you are calling the function. If you're requesting, you guessed it right, you use on request. If you're calling, you guessed it correct, you will use on call. So for on request, it allows a callback function whereby this callback function has two, is it a parameter or an argument? Has two parameters, I think parameters, whereby we have a request and a response. A request is what the client had asked for, and a response, as I've said here, is what the client will get. So for the response, it can be in terms of JSON, or it can be in terms of text, or even any other thing. So now, like for example, in this case over here, this is a simple one that is saying hello logs, and what is happening is it is supposed to tell you hello from Firebase here, and we did run that. You over here. Okay, let me. Yeah. See, and come over here. And if you can see, the Firebase is what we called our UI over here. If I come and change, I say hello StreamYard, hello stream, it should change over here, and you can see the time changes if I'm not wrong. But now, see. Import function definition for hello Firebase. Okay, I will have to start the like you can build the application again. I'm not sure. Let me yeah. This time. I wonder what happened when build. Does not like share the things behind this. Wait this happen, but it should be simple actually. So Okay. Okay.
Um, hi,
Okay.
Mandela.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hello, can you hear me?
See this, you can just copy paste this link and come and paste here. Yeah, and you enter. And you should see the text of hello from Firebase. But you see, in this case, this is more of like a get request. So that's why it has returned it. So technically, that is how you curate a simple functions. So now, in this case, I think you might be asking yourself, what happens if the request is not a post, if the request is not a get? What happens in the case of whereby I need to restrict this? So this on request allows you to like get other properties where you add it like more, not because I think I can say more options where apart from just being the two parameters, you can come and specify cause. So I think most of us know what cause is, whereby you only say I only want to have like restricted access where only the domain localhost 3000. So in this case, you're using Angular, you could say localhost put 200 to only access that. Alternatively, you can put in your website URL. The other one will be more of in regards to time in the sense that if getting request, how long if request the function, how long will it take for me to get the response? If it's more than 1200, then I don't give a response. The other one is concurrency, and I think for this concurrency, I explained it earlier, whereby you're more of like saying that if this function is open, then I can add more functions on it until they reach 200. Okay, the other one is in
Sorry, guys. So I think we lost Mandela. Uh, Let me try to reach out to her. Hi, Winnie.
Hello, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wait, sorry. I've completed the presentation and then I'm asking, can you hear me? No one is responding. When did they drop
Yeah.
off?
Uh, yeah. I can't even tell you when. It's been a while since we did.
Eh, what?
Yes.
Eh, yeah. It's her. Okay, what's the last thing that you remember?
Okay. So maybe let me share. You can share your screen.
That I didn't cancel to fix bugs. Yo. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So maybe scroll up a bit. It's
Mm-hmm.
been a while since you dropped off. I
Papa.
think we had not. Okay, maybe what you can do is you can take us through the function, what you've done now that you've been fixing bugs and everything.
Certainly my fix, as in. ah, yo, can you explain? What? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about
Okay.
that. Yeah, it's
No, it's
difficult,
fine.
especially
Mm,
if you thought you were still online.
okay, 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 okay. Just oh, okay. Just to I fix something over here. Then maybe actually it can work. Yeah. Mm, let's deploy. There's only functions. That has been a while. Wait. Okay. Wish me luck. I hope it deploys. I'm not sure. Okay, um, so I start from here. Yeah. Okay. Let me give a summary, Basi, because I think it is happening.
Yeah, just give us a summary.
Okay. So technically, when it comes to Firebase functions, as we talked earlier, according to the presentation. Let me see. Where is it? Yeah, as we had talked about earlier, there are two versions, so version 1 and version 2. Apart from that, the only key thing that you need to know is mainly triggers, whereby in triggers we have two types of triggers. Kuna the first event trigger, and then there is the auth trigger. So if you do cross-check my presentation over here, I said that for Firebase, you can either trigger it by making HTTP request, or by mainly by using it within Firebase features. So in this case, HTTP request is more of like what we did here, which is like we just made a request to the endpoint and then the endpoint gave us like a log, and it won't work because I have closed the server. And then now the another example of HTTP request might be how you're going to consume it in Angular, now like on the client side. So then now, apart from that, the other way in which you'll use it in Firebase features, it's mainly by either using events or triggers. So for today's session, we'll be going through triggers. And for the trigger, yeah, okay, just a minute. For the triggers, what happens is there are two ways in which you can import them. So if you do check over here, the basic file triggers that we use on document created, updated, deleted, and don't know if it's writer or writed, but that one. So now what happens is you can import it in this way, the way I have created this one over here, whereby what happens is, let me just comment this, whereby if you're importing it from version 1, what happens is you will import it using this command here. You will be importing the document and not the actual trigger. And then from there, you come over here to your function down here, and then you say, I want to get the document. The document that I want is this name, and I want that on create. What happens is I want you to do A, B, C, D, and D. And you see, in this case, the on create allows a callback function whereby it has a snap and a context. Snap basically is a snapshot, and our context is now like, what do you want it to do? But now in this case, we won't be using the version 1, we'll be using the version 2. If you are importing version 2, what happens is you import the triggers whereby you specify that I want to get on document created, I want to get on, there are a lot, on document written, on document updated, etc, etc. You see? So now what happens is you come over here, back to our code. Oh yeah, which is here. Yeah, back to our code. Let me uncomment this. Back to our code over here. Since we're using version 2, we take the trigger that we want. In our case, is we want that when the document is created, go and get this document that is called events, and we want you to get it per ID. You see? So for me, I have kept a wildcard because I don't know what the ID is. But for you, if you do know the ID, you can just go and place the ID instead. So here we are saying that when the document is created in the events collection, pick the ID of that document. And then what we want you to do is we want you to update that document and add a property called created at, whose value should be timestamp.now. Okay. And then you have this flag here of match true, which technically helps in having, let me say, healthy data, and you don't have to like have a lot of duplicate data within your collection. So that is the one for Firestore. Then apart from that, the other one is for the auth trigger, whereby for the auth trigger, it's the same. The only difference in this case is that we are not using auth and Firestore, since we want to trigger something, we'll be using the auth within the Firebase. I know you might be asking yourself what auth from Firestore, but if you come to our package.json here for the dependency, you see that we have a Firebase admin. Firebase admin basically helps you to navigate and use like other Firebase properties. So in this case, that would be like this one here. That will be Firestore authentication. You can say cloud, you can say real-time database. So now you see Firebase admin is what allows you to use this within your functions. And then yeah, technically that is what I was to share with you today. For the next session that we'll be having on remote configs, we will be seeing how it will be working on a real-time Angular application, whereby we will have done this live. And now before we continue, yeah, that is technically what I was talking. And then I found out that I'm speaking to myself, Mark. That is a summary of it all. Remember? Tana?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, so the only thing that I haven't said is you might ask yourself, Mona, why we haven't done the configuration for Firebase and like the way it is usually done when you are doing a normal Firebase project. It's because this is a cloud function, and when you install the Firebase function, all of those things are already embedded within the application. So you don't have to initialize them all the time, because actually the only thing you can do is you call this function, which is like initialize app, and then you will be able to like now get the rest of the functionalities, which is get auth. Yeah, and everything goes on well. Yeah, that is all I was to share for today before we go to our next session next time. Back to you, Mark, as I deploy my function over here.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was a really insightful session, and filled with the puns as well. We could see how you're debugging, and yeah, it's a real experience. Many developers are out there. We know how sometimes things don't work as expected. Thank you so much for your time. Where can everyone find you if they have more questions about Firebase in general or the cloud functions?
Okay. So for that one, just a minute. Developer, being a developer is problems. This thing has failed again. Anyway, okay. So if you want to reach out to me, I have my GitHub link over here. You can reach out to me via GitHub. I think if you come to I can't open my profile, you'll see the other projects I'm working on, but you'll get my contact information on my profile. That is TechMadi. And then you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. This is my profile. Yeah, Winnie Mandela. Yes. That is how you can reach out to me if you have any question in regards to Firebase. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much. So do you expect you to share with us the repo, or it's a private repo? Once you're done
No.
the debugging.
Yes, once I'm done, I can share the repo with you and you can share with everyone else. Yeah. Yes, it's public, it's not private.
Okay. So thank you again, Mandela, and thanks everyone. So until next time, yes. So I've been Mark. Hello. You can also find me on both LinkedIn and Twitter as Code Influencer. So see you guys next time.
Yes, my function has. Oh, sorry. Yes, see you guys. Bye.